morning.
Hey, Judge.
Are we waiting on one of the parties?
Said it kicked her out, and she said it's telling her to wait again. So she's waiting. It keeps telling her connecting, Your Honor, so I'm asking her to try it on her phone.
Okay, thank you.
Judge, for planning purposes, how much time do we have today?
So it's a general docket, so I have it set for 20 minutes per side. How much time do you think you need?
We planned for 20 minutes based on the timing of the docket, Your Honor.
Okay. So it looks like I have everyone. Would both of the parties please raise your right hands? Do you both solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. So ma'am, I can't hear you for some reason. Let's see. It shows that it shows your audio is on, but you can put your hand down. I see you said that I do. If you back out and then come back in again, sometimes that fixes audio issues. Because you've unmuted yourself. So just try signing out and sign back in.
Do you want her to call in, Your Honor, on her cell phone and have the digital here? Or is she still on mute?
I'm asking her to unmute and then we'll see if that doesn't. Yeah, her audio isn't working. Does she have just a phone that she can appear by?
Yes, Your Honor, she has a phone as well. She has her computer, iPad, and phone all there trying to get it. So if you want her on screen, I can have her call the number from her cell phone if that would work.
That would be great. And then she'll just need to reduce the volume completely on the computer so that she's not hearing it through both devices and we're not getting that feedback.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
can you hear me now?
Yes. So if you, yes, looks like you turned your volume down on your computer. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And you said I do?
I do.
Great, thank you. All right, so you'll have 20 minutes per side to use however you wish. You may call your first witness.
I'll call Eric Poremski.
Go ahead.
Will you please state your name for the court?
Eric Michael Poremski.
And are you currently married to Jenny Poremski?
Yes.
And how many children do you have?
One.
And what is the child's name and age?
Mercy Elizabeth Poremski is 3 years old.
Throughout the course since Jenny filed, y'all have talked multiple times about concerns that she's had regarding your behavior, correct?
Yes.
And do you feel like there's any issues to be addressed?
Yes.
What issues are those?
Her secretly recording me most of the time while we're having those discussions.
Do you feel like drugs are an issue?
Nope.
Drinking?
Potentially.
What do you mean by potentially?
I've sought help for drinking.
Okay. And when did you start that?
Several weeks ago.
How many weeks?
3 weeks ago, I started a substance abuse recovery program with IPS at the direction of an evaluation that I sought on the advice of my counsel.
Who did the evaluation?
Dr. Katina Miller.
And what was her recommendation?
To enter a recovery group.
Did she suggest 8 months of intensive outpatient treatment?
No.
Did she suggest any outpatient treatment?
I'm following the recommendations of her guideline. My attorney can provide a copy of that if you need it.
I'm asking you, did she recommend any outpatient
I'm going to
treatment?
object that this line of questioning is trying to elicit hearsay.
And just re-ask your question, Ms. McShawn.
Did she recommend outpatient treatment?
What she recommended was
Okay,
that I
perfect.
attend a men's substance abuse
Wait.
recovery group 2 hours an evening, 3 days a week.
Just wait. If Mr. McBride objects, just wait until I rule on the objection. I'm going to allow it. So what was your testimony just now? You said 3 days a week. What was the rest of it?
The group runs 2 hours an evening, 6:15 to 8:15, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And was there outpatient treatment or recommended as well?
What is outpatient treatment?
Was there a recommendation for outpatient treatment?
I don't believe so.
Did you tell Jenny that she had recommended you to complete outpatient treatment?
No,
Have you told Jenny that your problem is a lack of pot problem?
I believe she has a recording of me saying those words.
And do you believe that your use of drugs is your therapy for how you're dealing with things?
I have maintained that thought process in the past and the new understanding that maybe the use is not so medical.
When did that thought process change?
I'd say it's still in the process of change.
When was the last time you smoked pot?
The 1st of June,
When was the last time you had a drink?
the 4th of July.
You took multiple drug tests prior to going to national drug screening, correct?
Yes.
Those were positive, right?
No, for the large part, they were negative.
Okay, negative for what?
I took a multi-panel screen that was negative for all common street drugs, and I routinely took a home THC test or for THC metabolites. The lion's share of those were negative as well.
Why were you routinely taking THC test?
To gauge my progress toward becoming clean.
Would you not think stopping doing drugs would be a sign of your progress as well?
I would.
When was the last time you did cocaine?
Over the summer, I couldn't tell you what date it was.
Is this the cocaine that you found on the street while walking back from the liquor store?
Yes,
And you just found it and did it?
yes.
When you say
Um,
this summer or last summer?
This summer, I don't generally use cocaine. I haven't in,
Well, so what month are you talking about? So we're in the beginning of July or middle of July.
I would say it was maybe May.
Ms. McShane, you can ask your next question.
Did you not tell Jenny that you weren't going to stop doing drugs and drinking for good?
I wouldn't presume to make any prediction of the future.
Okay. Are you gonna try to?
Yes.
When did you start this path to try to stop doing drugs and alcohol?
I would have to say that I started making a serious effort at it when I was notified of her intent to seek divorce.
Last year?
I believe it was September of last year.
And it hasn't been successful to date, correct?
Cessation of marijuana has been successful, and cessation of drinking has been more of a challenge.
So it took, what, September, October, about 8 months, 9 months to stop smoking pot?
Yeah.
Okay. And you've been the sole caregiver for your child while smoking pot, correct?
Yes.
You've made drunk calls to Mercy, not remembering that you called her, right?
That has happened.
And 3 hours later, you drove home, didn't you?
Yes.
And did you not admit that you were probably over the legal limit, but you were okay to drive?
No, the particular day in question that you're talking about, I had 7 drinks throughout the afternoon, starting around 2 p.m. I was still intoxicated when Ginny called me for a bedtime phone call, at which point I went to sleep, slept for several hours, and then I drove home. The 8 hours that elapsed, I would have enough time to metabolize 7 units of alcohol.
But between being blackout drunk for the phone call with your child and 2.5 hours later when you showed up at your house, that was okay to drive in that time period?
I feel like I was under the legal limit when I got in the vehicle and drove home. I wanted to be there for when Mercy woke up the next morning.
Okay. Didn't you tell Jenny that she was setting you up to fail if she required you to do sober link for your possession times?
Yeah, it's my opinion that she's looking to trigger an event where she could just take full possession of the child.
Is it true that you have a compulsion to do drugs if they're around?
No,
Did you tell Jenny you did?
yes,
That's not true.
no, I don't believe so. I think that's in evidence.
Okay. And you told her that you can't have drugs or alcohol around because they just call to you, correct?
Yes, I did say that at one point.
And you resent Jenny for asking you to stop.
I resent being forced to make changes at Ginny's behalf or at Ginny's behest on Ginny's timetable and not based on my genuine desire to do what's best for myself and for my child.
Do you think it's best for your child to continue drinking and smoking?
No, I don't.
And what was your response when Jenny asked you to do co-parenting coaching with Carrie Beard?
Initially, I've been after Ginny to attend couples counseling to try to rekindle the marriage.
Section non-response?
Since
So she asked, what was your reaction?
I called Miss Baird's office. I tried to get in touch with her administrative assistant to schedule an intake session. The administrative assistant took a week to get back to me. In the interim, I read her website. I researched her fee structure. I researched how much she charged to appear at a court hearing and her general philosophy. And I did go as far as scheduling an intake session with her. And then considering all of the expense, I decided that attending co-parenting solutions at $35 a session was a better value than going to see Dr. Baird at $240 per session and get divorced anyway.
Do substance abuse meetings trigger you?
Not particularly.
Did you not go drinking after one of your substance abuse meetings?
I did go and get a 24-ounce can of beer after one of my substance abuse men's group meetings. Yes.
Hold on one second. Okay, Ms. McShane, you can go ahead.
Who is Jesse Huey?
A childhood friend of mine.
He's your drug dealer, isn't he?
I don't believe I need to incriminate another individual in this court.
Okay. And you told him that you were not going to smoke until you got the ruling, right?
I haven't made any statements to Jesse about my intent to use or not use within my recollection.
Okay. What do you do for a living?
Carpenter, handyman.
And What do you make per week
It varies greatly.
on average?
I made $38,000 gross last year. I don't know what the net is. Ginny filed an extension on the 2020 taxes and they've not been completed by our accountant as yet.
What groups are you currently attending as it relates to this case?
The groups that I'm currently attending are an IPS men's group for substance abuse recovery. I just joined, I've been on the waiting list for abuse avoidance education and recovery group called Mankind out of Beaverton, Oregon. That's Sunday nights for an hour and a half. And I started AA Friday of this past week.
Okay. And the Mankind class, that's for batterers who are trying to get help to change their lives, correct?
It's for all types of abuse, psychological, verbal, emotional, animal, physical. It's all categories of abuse are addressed in the group.
Okay, but it's for the person perpetrating the abuse, not the victim, correct?
The victims have a separate group.
Okay.
Recreational
And
group.
this past weekend, you took Jenny's notes that she prepared to give to me, correct?
This past weekend, I took a spiral notebook with Jack Moss's name on it. That's my stepson. She had furtively hidden the notebook when I entered the home, and I was curious to see what she was trying to hide from me.
And you understand that that was for preparation for me, correct?
No, I didn't.
And you actually backed up your van and parked on top of it so she couldn't get it back, didn't you?
No, actually, I backed the van on top of it when I saw it in the street in front of my parents' house. I wanted to make sure that she was able to get that back and that nobody else would run off with it
How to get to your parents' house?
in my van.
Pass this witness.
Okay, Mr. McBride, Ms. Hayes, is Mr. McBride handling the hearing for this witness?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, Mr. McBride, you may proceed.
Eric, you testified earlier that you're the father of the subject of this lawsuit. What is her name?
Mercy Elizabeth Borensky.
And what is her date of birth?
Mercy's date of birth,
Yes.
7/7/17.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's the only child that you have with Jenny?
Yeah, she's the only child.
We just heard some testimony regarding your use of alcohol and marijuana. I'm going to ask you a few questions related to that. Prior to July 4, when was the last time you had a drink of alcohol?
I'm sorry, prior to July, your audio's terrible.
Prior to the July 4, when was a most recent drink of alcohol before that date?
About a week or so before that.
These groups that you've voluntarily enrolled in, the AA, IPS, and Mankind, what was the driving factor in enrolling in those groups?
Reconciling my relationship with my wife, following her recommendations to seek help for what she defines as emotional abuse, investigate what is my role in disturbing the peace of her household and her person, try to mitigate those behaviors. I think the substance abuse recovery group speaks for itself.
Okay. And do you feel like these groups, these sessions are having a benefit to you?
I feel like AA is the most beneficial. The Mankind group is quite eye-opening. The group is extremely professional, extremely well-structured. Also, they mandate the random drug testing and abstaining from alcohol as part of their program. So I'm considering, how how to manage all of these therapies are 8.5 hours a week at this point. I'm working a full schedule. So it's like doing a whole extra day of work in therapy. So I'm trying to figure out what is the most targeted approach to get the biggest bang for my buck, because I don't see staying in 8 hours of group therapy weekly as being tenable long term.
In this mankind group, that was a group that your wife had asked you to join. Is that correct?
My wife revealed to me about a month ago that she had been attending their women's group for victims of emotional abuse for some time. And I asked her if she would try to get me some contact information to get into their men's group.
And do you feel like you are some sort of abuser?
I can identify primarily verbal abuse as something that I have struggled with. As far as the group goes, they define all the abuse by categories, and I can find at least one type of abusive behavior in every category that I could stand to address.
How do you define verbal abuse?
Name calling and putting down and mischaracterizations, criticisms, and derogatory statements.
Have you been arrested for any family violence issues or had any issues with the law regarding that?
No.
In the last 10 years, have you ever been arrested for a DWI, an alcohol-related offense, or any drug-related offense?
No.
Relating back to your daughter, you're asking this court to award both you and Jenny as joint managing conservators, with you the exclusive right to designate the residence of the child. Do you think that's in the best interest of your child?
Yes, I do.
Are you asking this court to award you 50-50 access with a preference of a 2-2-3 possession and access schedule?
I am.
Do you think that's in the best interest of your daughter?
I do.
Why do you think that's in the best interest of your daughter?
Because as many concerns that my wife has with my behavior, I have with her parenting style.
What are your concerns with her parenting style?
Primarily that it's very hands-off. It poses safety risks to the child. She is very random about enforcing rules or even setting rules. Just not very proactive in providing guardrails or boundaries to a child.
Okay. Jenny has another child that lives with you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What is his name?
Jack Moss,
How old is he?
14.
Have you perceived any parenting issues related to Jack and Jenny?
It's the
Objection
primary
relevance?
driver of our marital conflict.
Objection relevance, Your Honor.
I'll allow it and give it the appropriate weight.
Good answer.
Jack's behavior is problematic in quite a few areas. Most notably, his behavior has at times affected my daughter's ability to sleep through the night. He doesn't have a bedtime. He's not obligated to join family meals or family events. He's allowed.
Relevance?
Judge, I think co-parenting is abundantly relevant in this hearing.
Allow it. You can continue answering the question.
He's allowed to have female company in his room with the door closed while no parents are in the home. There just next to no rules enforced on Jack's person. And my concern is that as Mercy grows, Jenny will be as permissive of Mercy doing what Mercy sees fit to do. And like children are always seeking a boundary, and it's the role of a parent to establish a healthy boundary and a reasonable set of rules, and then hold the children to that set of rules. And what I get from Ginny is exceptions and justifications, and for making exceptions to almost every rule that we together have discussed and I believed that we had consensus on. But she'll lead me to believe that we have consensus and we've established some rules, and then she'll tell me, oh no, I never agreed to that, and we didn't agree to that. And even if we did agree to that,
And
here
Eric, is it your concern that these parenting issues that you've identified are going to carry over to Mercy, your daughter?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you have any concerns that your wife is trying to alienate you from your relationship with your daughter?
Well, she's done it with her son to his father. Why would she not repeat that pattern of behavior with my daughter and me, particularly with the custody that she's seeking?
Okay. Is alienation a recurring issue with other people in your family?
Yes, and with her biological family of origin.
I'll
Who
skip
is-
at this
who is-
point. You can ask your next question.
Describe to the court issues that you've witnessed regarding alienation and your wife, Jenny.
Let's see. She, with her permissive attitude of her stepson's behavior, that's a massive contrast with what is expected of him at a mother's house. So has a clear preference for time at mother's house and doesn't care to go to his father's house. She cast her father and mother out for 3 solid years. They did not get to attend the birth of our child. They didn't get to know my daughter in her infancy. Now suddenly nothing has really changed with their relationship, and they're back to being family again. And now my mother's cast out for whatever. She told Ginny that she needed to reconcile the relationship and own up to her side of the issues and work her problems out with me. And then my mother is on the list of the outs.
Okay. And for the reasons you just described to the court, you're asking that the court order a psych evaluation of your wife. Is that correct?
I am.
Okay. In addition to several of the customary injunctions that we've requested, we're also asking that the court enter an injunction for no opposite sex overnight guests while we're in temporary orders. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is your reason for requesting that the court order that?
Over the course of the last summer, Ginny was having an emotionally involved, intimate relationship with a friend of hers from college that came to my attention around the child's birthday last year. And apparently she had already been consulting with Miss McShann about filing divorce proceedings, which she was withholding to get past the child's birthday, but she was already moved on with another relationship on deck, so to speak. And this past Saturday, she revealed to me that she intends to contact that individual shortly and check in with him.
Okay. You're prepared to move out of the marital residence. Is that correct?
I will be shortly. The accommodations that I've arranged are under renovation at the moment.
Okay. And how much time do you think you're going to require to move everything out of the house into this new location?
I would say 45 days minimum. I've got a 2-car garage that's a disaster, full of work material and equipment. I've got, a whole household worth of personal effects, most of which are stored in a closet that Ginny uses for her confidential office. So I don't even have access to my personal property. I don't really know where the lion's share of it is even stored. She's moved it around so many times.
Okay. And real quick, Eric, you took a urine analysis test back on June 30th this year. Is that correct?
Yes.
What were the results of that?
I didn't have any drugs of any kind in my system.
Okay. I'm going to show you a document which we've marked as Exhibit 1. Judge, permission to share screen.
Let me share your screen. Let me just make sure that it's enabled for you. Okay, you can share your screen.
Eric, are you familiar with this document?
Yes.
All right, Judge, I'd like to offer Exhibit 1.
No objection.
One's admitted.
Let's stop sharing screen. Pass the witness, Judge.
Okay,
Um,
so hold on, just for time purposes, Ms. McShann, you have 6 minutes left, and then Mr. McBride and Ms. Hayes, you have 7 minutes left. Any additional questions for this witness?
Briefly, Your Honor. Mr. Prensky, you said to Jenny that your mother is toxic and poisonous, correct?
Jenny has.
Objection, non-responsive. Yes or no?
Yes.
And you told Jenny you could move out immediately if you had an agreement about mercy, correct?
I could, but not to the apartment that I am renovating.
And how do you define alienation? It's a word you use a lot.
Coming between a natural relationship between family members and inserting yourself to reduce the quality or the experiential quality of the people who would otherwise have a connection.
And didn't you tell Jenny that AA is re-traumatizing and generally unhelpful?
Before I ever attended AA, I made that statement.
Pass the witness.
Any other questions?
No further questions, Judge.
Okay, Ms. McShann, you can call your next witness.
I'll call Jenny Poremski.
You may proceed. She's been sworn.
Will you please state your name for the court?
Jenny Elizabeth Premsky.
And Jenny, go through this really briefly. Can you explain to the court why there was a delay to file and the delay between filing and today's hearing?
Well, I delayed filing because the kids don't deserve to have all this drama going on their birthdays. Their birthdays are 2 days apart, and we were having a big joint party for the two of them. And I realized a few weeks before their birthdays that there just wasn't, I just didn't believe that he was making any actual changes, and it didn't feel like it was ever going to work out. So I decided I was going to file for divorce about 3 weeks before their birthdays, but I just didn't want them to experience their birthdays in the midst of this kind of drama. So I wanted to get past that before I filed. And then the reason there was a delay between the filing and now is because when I filed, Eric begged me to give him another chance and promised he was going to make the changes that he really hadn't been making. And he acknowledged that he hadn't really been making them. And he said he was going to really work on these things, and he had some steps that he was going to do. And so I said, I agreed that I would wait. So I would make it take longer so that he would have time to try and take those steps in order for him to be able to have more time with Mercy. And so I
who's the
dragged it out.
primary caregiver for Mercy?
Me.
What's a normal schedule for you guys?
She wakes up around 7. She and I usually hang out for an hour or two and get dressed and get breakfast and all that stuff and get ready to go. And then I take her to my sister, who's been providing childcare for her since her daycare shut down for quarantine. So since then, my sister's been providing childcare for her while I work. So she and I will hang out, then I'll take her to my sister's and she'll be there while I work. And that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then Friday, and I'll pick her up in the afternoon when I'm done working. And then on Fridays, I don't work, and so she and I hang out the whole day. Usually Friday evenings, Eric will read her a story or a couple of stories before I come in and put her to bed. But I put her to bed every night. Saturday mornings, I work, and while I work, either Eric, well, usually Eric will watch her for a few hours while I'm working in the house. And then as soon as I'm done working, I'll take her back, and then we'll hang out and do stuff Saturday afternoon. Occasionally, Eric will like take her to do something at the park or whatever for a little bit. But then
What?
Sundays, we kind of hang out and do our thing, and then we're back to Monday.
What's Eric's longest time he's had with her?
This past spring, he had one night. He'd really been working hard. It seemed like he hadn't been drinking, and he'd been even keel for a little while. And it seemed like he and Mercy had built up some trust. And she was game. She wanted to try an overnight. So he did a sleepover. His parents were out of town, and they went down to his parents' house and tried a sleepover that night. And so maybe 12 hours.
And you said Eric's watching her, when Eric has her primarily, what time of day is that?
In the morning.
Why?
Because I haven't been able to trust him to watch her in the evening.
Why?
Because even since he's tried to quit drinking, it's just no guarantee that he's going to not drink unless he like firmly promises me that he will not drink that night. I don't leave her with him in the evening.
You've received what's been pre-marked as Mother's Exhibit number 1. Do you recognize that document?
Yes.
Is that a summary of the requested relief you're asking the court to grant today?
Yes.
Judge, I'm gonna,
And,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jody. I'll wait for you to offer it.
and if I would ask you each and every question, is this what your testimony would be?
Yes.
I move to offer his Mother's 1 as a summary.
Judge, I'm gonna object just for the reason that it was just produced to us a couple hours ago. This is a complete and utter different proposed summary that was given to us last week pursuant to the deadline.
And Your Honor, this is just a summary of requested relief. We're not offering it for the truth of the matter asserted.
And I'm not making a hearsay objection. I'm just saying we didn't, in preparing for this hearing, we weren't aware that this was a relief being sought. We were basing our trial prep based on Friday's deadline.
I mean, we're happy to remove the phases, granting Mr. Perimsky more time. We were just trying to make a full requested relief for the court. And all this was previously requested in our pleadings in our original petition. It's not a surprise by any means.
And mute him. So I'm going to remind you that you're in court and you need to act appropriately. So is the only change the phase part on page 2?
Your Honor, we added the phases, and I clarified that we were asking for an alcohol evaluation with Dr. Albritton, and then listed the injunctions we had requested in our petition. And I believe that was all that was changed.
But they're contained in your pleading.
Yes, Your Honor.
Temporary. Okay, I'll admit it as a summary of relief requested. Do you have 3 final questions for your client?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Perimsky, has Eric talked to you about being arrested for DWI in the past in Montana?
Yes.
Are you asking the court to order a hair and nail drug test of him at his sole
Yes.
cost?
Yes.
And how do you and Jack's dad co-parent?
We talk periodically about what the general direction is that we're trying to parent, and we talk specifically about, like, for example, the bedtime thing. When bedtime was an issue, it was an issue, and I felt like he was maybe old enough to just let him try it out himself and figure it out himself, that he needs to get some sleep. I talked with his dad about it, and his dad thought that was a fantastic idea, and we agreed together that we would try for a while, not having a bedtime for him, and give him a chance to figure it out, which he seems to be doing.
I believe I'm out of questions.
Yes. Mr. McBride, are you gonna ask questions or is Ms. Hayes gonna ask questions of this witness?
It's me, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Hayes, you may proceed. You have 7 minutes left.
Thank you. Jenny, how much do you earn?
I own my own business, and so my salary is about $1,700 a month, but I also take disbursements, and that varies. But usually I take disbursements about $300 a month
So
on average
your testimony is you make approximately $2,000 a month.
at the moment. Yes.
Do you have insurance available to you at your job?
No.
And you and Mr. Prinsky agreed not to insure your child. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You also agreed collectively that you were not going to vaccinate your child, right?
Not in a blanket way like that. No. We agreed that we would not follow the regular CDC recommended schedule, but we also agreed that there were a few vaccinations that we do want her to have. We were just going to wait till she was a little bit older to give them to her.
Okay. These decisions you made together, is that right?
Yes.
And as far as supervision, you would agree with me that Mr. Prinsky has had unsupervised access with your child.
In small doses in the morning.
Objection, unresponsive. Yes or no, ma'am? You've allowed unsupervised contact between Mr. Prinsky and your child on a regular basis, isn't that right?
Yes. In small doses in the morning.
Non-responsive after yes. Do you consider yourself to be a controlling person, Ms. Prinsky?
No.
Do you remember putting rules before Mr. Prinsky that he would have to follow to stay married to you?
Yes.
One of those rules was he couldn't have contact with his family, right?
No.
You don't remember specifically stating severely limit your contact with your parents, if not cut it off completely? You remember saying that?
Yes.
Do you remember
Yes.
also asking that he allow you to check his cell phone to ensure that he's not talking to his parents?
Yes and no.
Objection, non-responsive. In fact, what you specifically stated is allow me to check your phone's call log and text to your parents. Is that right?
Yes.
You also told him to leave Jack alone completely. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Fair to say you're a little enmeshed with your daughter, right?
No.
You co-sleep with your child. Is that correct?
No.
You moved into her bedroom when she was 1 year old. Isn't that right?
No.
Your testimony is you didn't move in to your daughter's bedroom.
When she was 2, I did, but not when she was 1.
Okay. Are you still breastfeeding your daughter?
Sometimes.
Yeah, your daughter's almost 4 years old, Ms. Bremsky, right?
Yes.
Objection, mischaracterization of the evidence.
Did she turn 4 on July 7th? Ma'am, did she turn?
September 7th. September 7th, she will turn 4.
Sorry, I thought that your husband said 7/7/17. Was her birthday? Okay.
So just to be clear, she's almost 4 and you're still breastfeeding your child, right?
Sometimes.
And truth be told, you have a lot of issues with Mr. Prinsky because he has rules and you don't like rules, right?
No.
You're an LPC, is that correct?
Yes.
And you've utilized whatever skills you have as an LPC to diagnose him with these various conditions. Isn't that true?
No.
You're the one that's told him he has a drinking problem, right?
Yes, but that's not a diagnosis.
Objection, non-responsive after yes. You're the
Sustained.
one that's told him he needs therapy, right?
I'd object to this line of questioning as it characterizes her as an expert in this.
Well, I'm going to allow this a lay opinion.
You're the one that's told him he has that needs therapy and treatment, right?
Yes.
And these episodes of drinking, they're not frequent, right, Ms. Prinsky?
No, that's incorrect.
He drinks occasionally, and you don't like him drinking at all. So you've told him he has a drinking problem. Isn't that right?
No, that's incorrect.
You ever heard the term gaslighting, Ms. Prinsky?
Yes.
And as an LPC, you're familiar that you can continue forcing these diagnoses on him and encourage him to seek treatment for them. Isn't that right?
I don't understand the question.
Right, that's fair. Maybe it was a terrible question. Isn't it correct that you've mandated that he get counseling and treatment?
For us to stay together,
And you understand, you've also alleged in your pleading that he's been physically violent with you, but that's also not true. Isn't that correct?
I don't believe I was alleged that.
Do you recall requesting a protective order in your pleading in this case due to family violence allegations?
No,
Okay. As far as his drinking, do you still have ongoing concerns that he's drinking?
yes,
Did he drink when you married him?
occasionally.
Did he drink when you had a child with him?
Yes, by then he was drinking constantly.
Objection, non-responsive after yes.
Sustained.
And he's been drinking at the times that you've left him to care for your child. Isn't that correct?
No,
Your concern about marijuana, that's been alleviated because he's no longer using, right?
no,
Well, you're aware he's not used in quite some time. Isn't that right?
no,
Well, he's told you he quit cold turkey, right?
yes,
You've seen the drug test. He's not using drugs, right?
at the moment, yes,
So your whole concern about supervision is the occasional drink Mr. Prinsky has had and his willingness to attend treatment. Is that right?
no, that's not correct.
Isn't it true you're using his willingness to attend treatment as an admission of some sort of guilt?
Yes,
And you know he did that to keep his marriage intact. Like you just said, that's what you require to stay married to you, right?
that is not my understanding.
Are you still having an affair with Kevin?
No,
Do you believe it's important to set healthy boundaries with your children?
absolutely.
And you indicated to this court that you don't trust Mr. Prinsky with your daughter Mercy. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you continue to leave him with your child. Is that right?
I don't trust him in the afternoons and evenings.
Objection, non-responsive. It's just a yes or no. We've already established you've continued to leave her, right?
Objection to characterization.
I understand. You can, so you're out of time as well. Do you have 3 additional questions that you'd like to ask?
Yes, Your Honor, I'll use them carefully. Do you think it's important for Mercy to have a relationship with her paternal grandparents?
Yes,
So you are supportive of Mr. Perinsky sharing his family with your child, is that right?
within limits, yes.
Objection, non-responsive other than yes.
Sustained.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Okay, clarifying question. So Ms. McShann, are you wanting a drug test done today, or are you just wanting SoberLink to be set up?
We would like both, Your Honor, because we're not sure of other drugs that have been done, but we're definitely requesting SoberLink first and foremost, as that's an ongoing issue. Drugs, we know there's negative drug tests, but not sure if it is used since then, since that was 2 weeks ago.
Is there a community checking account or something like that that can pay for it?
I believe their funds are split, Your Honor.
Does your client have any objection to advancing the cost?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. The email addresses I have are chris@bh-pllc.com. Do you want me to send that to you? And then you send that to Mr. McBride, or do you want me to send it to both of you, Ms. Hayes?
I'll do it, Judge.
Thank you. And then Jody at jodymcshanlaw.com.
Yes, Ron.
Okay, let me ask the father a clarifying question. So, sir, what did you say that your income was monthly?
My gross earnings monthly have averaged around $5,000 lately, but that includes receipts for materials and other direct expenses. So it's difficult to determine what my net is because different projects have different components of material going into them.
So material that you're using on a business is not going to be income to you. So what's
Right.
not like for like the exact dollar amount, but approximately how much do you think your income is per month?
I really can't say, Your Honor. My last year's earnings gross were $38,500. Ginny has all the tax documents. I believe that if you can give me a moment, I can look up what the material costs were for last year, and we can deduct that from my gross.
No, we don't need to do that right now. I just need to know. Okay, are you making more or less than last year?
I'm making more this year.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to consider all the testimony from the parties. So I will grant the retest for drug testing today if the wife is going to pay for it. I'll send it to the attorneys before going to lunch so you all have it. And I will note on here what husband testified to let's say give him credit, but give him credit for what his testimony was so that it should match. If it doesn't, y'all can address it later. I will send you all something later this week. You all are excused. Thank you.